Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Valsa Williams and with me is Subga Kaul with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi dedicates to the nation the building of Rashtriya Raksha University near Gandhinagar in Gujarat, says seeds of police reforms sown with the launch of the university. Prime Minister expresses hope that the university will strengthen the security scenario of the nation. Home Minister Amit Shah says Gujarat produced a model in the country by adopting major systematic changes. Aam Aadmi Party leader Bhagwant Mann meets Punjab Governor Banwari Lal Purohit to stake claim to form government in Punjab. 4 terrorists killed in 3 separate overnight operations by security forces in Jammu and Kashmir. Nationwide COVID vaccination approaching 180 crore mark. Nepal Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba thanks India after 4 Nepali nationals evacuated from Ukraine through Operation Ganga. Food and Agriculture Organization says war in Ukraine will hurt poor nations dependent on grain imports. In Women's Cricket World Cup, India beat West Indies by 155 runs at Seddon Park, Hamilton. And in men's cricket, India win the toss and elect to bat against Sri Lanka in the day and night test at Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bengaluru. As we start the bulletin, we appeal to our listeners to stay safe from COVID-19 by following these 4 simple steps. Get fully vaccinated, wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today dedicated the new building complex of the Rashtriya Raksha University, RRU, Gandhinagar, to the nation today by unveiling a plaque. The new campus building complex of Rashtriya Raksha University, an institution of national importance, is situated at Lawad village near Gandhinagar in Gujarat. Mr. Modi also participated in the first convocation ceremony of the university as the chief guest. Delivering his convocation address, the Prime Minister said seeds of police reforms were sown by the launch of the university in Gujarat. He said that police reforms were needed immediately after our independence, but it was neglected for many years. He expressed the hope that the Rashtriya Raksha University will emerge in the field of national security and defence that will change the security picture of the nation.
मुझे विश्वास है कि आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव में एक ऐसी यात्रा का आरंभ हुआ है जब देश आजादी का 100 साल मनाएगा, तब रक्षा क्षेत्र की पहचान अलग होगी, रक्षा क्षेत्र के लोगों की तरफ देखने का नजरिया बदल गया होगा और देश का सामान्य से सामान्य नागरिक, चाहे वो सीमा पर प्रहरी होगा या आपके मोहल्ले गली के प्रहरी होगा, एक भाव से देखते होंगे और देश की रक्षा के लिए समाज और व्यवस्था दोनों मिलकर के काम करते होंगे.
Mr. Modi said a general perception was developed over the years that we have to be careful of uniformed personnel, but it has transformed now. Mr. Modi said when people see uniformed personnel now, they get assurance of help.
यूनिफॉर्म की इज्जत बढ़ती है, उसके भीतर मानवता जिंदा होती है. यूनिफॉर्म की हिम्मत बढ़ती है जब उसके अंदर करुणा का भाव होता है. यूनिफॉर्म की कीमत तब बढ़ती है जब माताओं, बहनों, दलित, पीड़ित, शोषित, वंचित के लिए कुछ कर गुजरने की आकांक्षाएं भीतर जगती है, तब जाकर के यूनिफॉर्म की ताकत बढ़ती है.
Mr. Modi said Gujarat has National Forensic Science University and National Children University, the first 2 such universities in the world.
पूरी दुनिया में कहीं पर भी फॉरेंसिक साइंस यूनिवर्सिटी नहीं है. पूरी दुनिया में कहीं पर भी चिल्ड्रन यूनिवर्सिटी नहीं है. गांधीनगर और हिंदुस्तान अकेला ऐसा है कि जिसके पास ये 2 यूनिवर्सिटीज है.
Prime Minister Modi also remembered the Dandi Yatra, which was started today from the land of Gujarat for the Salt Satyagraha. He said the Salt Satyagraha movement under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi against the injustice of British rule had made the British government realize the collective power of Indians. Mr. Modi asked girls to join the university to develop a sense of security among women.
जीवन का कोई क्षेत्र ऐसा नहीं है जिसके अंदर प्रभावी भूमिका हमारी बेटियां न करती हो, चाहे ओलंपिक में विक्ट्री प्राप्त करने आना हो, तो उसमें भी मेरी बेटियां ज्यादा है, साइंस के क्षेत्र में देखो तो हमारी बेटियां ज्यादा है, उसी प्रकार से शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में देखो हमारी बेटियां ज्यादा है, सुरक्षा के क्षेत्र में भी जब हमारी बेटियों का प्रभुत्व भी उतना ही भागीदारी वाली होगा, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि मेरे देश की माताओं बहनों को सुरक्षा का एहसास होगा। और इस भाव को लेकर के, उस भूमिका को लेकर के आप सब आगे आए।
Delivering his presidential address, Union Home and Cooperation Minister Amit Shah said that Rashtriya Raksha University, an institution of national importance, can now expand its activities throughout the country. He said present Rashtriya Raksha University is the result of Prime Minister Modi's vision when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat. Mr. Shah said, as the Chief Minister of Gujarat, Mr. Modi had adopted a holistic approach for law and order subject and started universities in Gujarat in the field of law, forensic science and Rashtriya Raksha Shakti. He said that Gujarat has produced a model in the country by adopting major systematic changes. Mr. Shah said Mr. Modi's first big initiative was modernization of the state police force.
मोदी जी जब मुख्यमंत्री बने तब उन्होंने सबसे पहला काम किया समग्र पुलिस बल के आधुनिकीकरण का। उनके नेतृत्व में गुजरात के 100% थानों का कंप्यूटराइजेशन करने वाला गुजरात सबसे पहला राज्य बना और थानों को कंप्यूटराइज करने का काम।
Vice Chancellor of Rashtriya Raksha University, RRU Gandhinagar, Professor Bimal Patel, has shared the details of the university and his future vision on the occasion. Earlier, before reaching Rashtriya Raksha University, Prime Minister Modi held a roadshow from Raj Bhavan, Gandhinagar. Large number of people and party workers from rural areas enthusiastically welcomed Mr. Modi with flowers and garlands. AIR Ahmedabad correspondent reports Rashtriya Raksha University, an institution of national importance, is established by the Indian Parliament Act. The university aims to become an academic research training ecosystem for national security and police. A total 1,090 students will receive their degrees, out of which 13 students will get their honorary doctorate degrees, as well as 38 students will be awarded gold medal. In the evening, Mr. Modi will inaugurate Khel Mahakumbh, a state-level sports program, at the Sardar Patel Stadium in Ahmedabad. He will also launch a new sports policy of Gujarat government on the occasion.
Aam Aadmi Party leader Bhagwant Mann today met Punjab Governor Banwari Lal Purohit and staked claim to form government in Punjab. The 48-year-old comedian turned politician was elected leader of the Aam Aadmi Party Legislature Party at a meeting held at Mohali near Chandigarh last evening. Aam Aadmi Party has won 92 seats in the 117-member Punjab Assembly. After meeting Governor outside the Raj Bhavan in Chandigarh, Bhagwant Mann said the swearing-in ceremony will be held at Khatkar Kalan, the native village of Bhagat Singh, at 12:30 p.m. on March 16th. The Goa Cabinet passed a resolution yesterday to dissolve the State Assembly. Informing this, Chief Minister Pramod Sawant said the resolution will be sent to the Governor on Monday, after which the Assembly will be dissolved and a meeting of fresh legislators would be held. More from our correspondent.
The tenure of the present Assembly concludes on 15th March. Chief Minister Pramod Sawant said a meeting of newly elected legislators of BJP will be held after dissolution of Assembly to elect party leader. Mr. Sawant said central observers will be coming to Goa to hold discussion on government formation. He said swearing-in ceremony of new government will be decided by the central observers. 3 independent MLAs have extended support to BJP. Meanwhile, senior leader of Maharashtrawadi Gomantak Party, Sudhin Dhavlikar, said the party has extended unconditional support to BJP. MJP got 2 seats in this election. Krishna Kumar Lal, AIR News, Panji, Goa.
Meanwhile, the Goa Chief Minister Pramod Sawant today submitted his resignation to the Governor P.S. Sridharan from his post, paving the way for formation of the new government in the state. The Governor accepted the resignation of Mr. Sawant and requested him to continue as caretaker Chief Minister along with his cabinet till further arrangements are made.
In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, 4 terrorists have been gunned down by security forces in 3 separate nocturnal encounters that raged between security forces and terrorists in Kashmir Valley. Giving details, the police sources said that one Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist was neutralized at Nechama in Handwara, Kupwara. another Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist in search area of Ganderbal district, while 2 Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists were neutralized in Cheva-Kala operation in the South Kashmir's Pulwama district. One terrorist was also captured alive during the operations. The identity of one of the slain terrorists killed in Pulwama operation has been established as Jaish-e-Mohammed commander Kamal Bhai. He was active since 2018 in Pulwama Shupia area and was involved in several terror crimes and civilian atrocities. Meanwhile, the operations in Handwara and Pulwama are over, while it is underway in search area of Central Kashmir's Ganderbal district till reports last came in. Earlier, terrorists shot dead one Sarpanch in Adura area in South Kashmir's Kulgam district last evening. This was the second killing of a Panchayat member in the last 3 days in the Kashmir Valley. On March the 9th, terrorists had barged inside the house of a Sarpanch, Samir Ahmad Bhatt, and shot him dead at Khonmo area on the outskirts of Srinagar city.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi dedicates to the nation the building of Rashtriya Raksha University near Gandhinagar in Gujarat, says seeds of police reform sown with the launch of the university. Prime Minister expresses hope that the university will strengthen the security scenario of the nation. Home Minister Amit Shah says Gujarat produced a model in the country by adopting major systematic changes. Aam Aadmi Party leader Bhagwant Mann meets Punjab Governor Banwari Lal Purohit to stake claim to form government in Punjab. 4 terrorists killed in 3 separate overnight operations by security forces in Jammu and Kashmir. Nationwide COVID vaccination approaching 180 crore mark. Nepal Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba thanks India after 4 Nepali nationals evacuated from Ukraine through Operation Ganga. Food and Agriculture Organization says war in Ukraine will hurt poor nations dependent on grain imports. In Women's Cricket World Cup, India beat West Indies by 155 runs at Seddon Park, Hamilton. And in men's cricket, India win the toss and elect to bat against Sri Lanka in the day and night test at Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bengaluru. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at @AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो खुद से वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Welcome back to the Midday News. Over 179 crore 91 lakh doses of COVID vaccines have been administered in the country under the nationwide vaccination drive so far. The Union Health and Family Welfare Ministry today said more than 18,000 COVID vaccine doses were administered yesterday. The country reported over 3,000 new COVID cases in the last 24 hours. Over 5,000 COVID patients have recovered during the same period. The national recovery rate stands at 98.71%. 4 Nepali nationals have reached Nepal from Ukraine via India. Prime Minister of Nepal, Sher Bahadur Deuba, thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Indian government for the assistance in repatriating Nepali nationals through Operation Ganga. The Indian Embassy in Moscow has assured students that there are no security reasons for them to leave Russia at present. The embassy said it is in regular contact with relevant authorities with respect to the safety and security of Indian nationals, including students. The response came after the Indian Embassy received messages from Indian students studying in Russian universities seeking advice on their continued stay in the country. In the guidelines for Indian students studying in Russia, the embassy said it would like to reassure all students that India sees no security reasons for students to leave at present.
The UN Food Agency, Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, has said war in Ukraine will hurt poor nations importing grain. Director General of FAO, Q Dongyi, said in Rome that likely disruptions to agricultural activities in Ukraine and Russia could seriously escalate food insecurity globally. Russia, which is under heavy economic sanctions following the war, and Ukraine account for 1/3 of global grain exports. The agency warned that poorer countries in Northern Africa, Asia and the Middle East that depend heavily on wheat imports risk suffering significant food insecurity due to the war. It said there is also uncertainty over whether Ukraine's wheat ready in June can be harvested, as massive population displacement has reduced the number of agricultural laborers and workers. The FAO said Ukraine's ports on the Black Sea are shuttered and its government banned the export of wheat, oats, millet, buckwheat and some other food products to prevent a crisis in its own country. It said the United States, Argentina and other wheat-producing nations are also likely to limit exports as government seeks to ensure domestic supply. The agency said Russia is the lead producer of fertilizer and price of a key fertilizer component urea has jumped more than threefold in the last 12 months. The United States, European Union and other allies escalated their economic pressure on Russia yesterday to strip Moscow of privileged trade and economic treatment, among other steps to punish it for its military operations of Ukraine. US President Joe Biden said the new actions collectively will further hobble a Russian economy already weighed down by previously announced international sanctions that have catered the ruble and forced the stock market to close. Referring to ending normal trade relations, Biden said doing it in unison with other nations that make up half of the global economy will be another crushing blow to the Russian economy that's already suffering very badly from our sanctions. The measures announced by the European Union, the United States and other G7 allies amount to a fourth set of sanctions against Russia over the February 24th military operation.
The Ministry of Rural Development organized over 100 rallies under the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav campaign to spread awareness about undernutrition across the country. More than 5,000 trainees from Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kaushalya Yojana and Rural Self-Employment Training Institutes took part in these rallies as part of iconic week celebrations. Various stakeholders rallied to reinforce the importance of nutrition amongst rural women. Women candidates marched and cycled across villages, holding informative placards and posters as part of the rallies. 7 people have died in a fire incident in the Gokulpuri area in the national capital today. According to fire officials, a call was received around 1 a.m. about the fire which broke out in the shanties. A total of 13 fire tenders were rushed to the spot and the fire was finally doused at 4 a.m. 7 bodies were found at the spot. Delhi Fire Service Chief Atul Garg said the reason for the fire is being ascertained.
ये आग बहुत तेजी से फैली। रबड़ के जो टायर वगैरह होते इस तरह का मटेरियल इस तरह की दुकानें ज्यादा थी वहाँ पे। इस वजह से आग जो है बहुत फास्ट फैली और जब आग बुझाई तो उसके बाद जब हमने सर्च ऑपरेशन किए तो हमें 7 लोगों की बॉडी मिली जो कि चार्ट थी बिल्कुल, जिसको आप पहचान नहीं सकते और ये अलग अलग जगह से मिली। कारणों का भी पता लगाया जा रहा है।
As our nation celebrates the 75th year of independence, a series of events are being organized by the government as a part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. To commemorate the occasion as a Jan Utsav, All India Radio News brings its listeners a special quiz on India's freedom movement and its glorious history. The quiz is being conducted every Monday and Tuesday in the morning news. The next question of Amrit Mahotsav quiz will be shared with listeners on Monday, 14th March in the morning news. Celebrate 75 years of India's independence by participating in Amrit Mahotsav quiz with AIR News. And now, let's listen to a special program Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
Long live! Long live! Long live!
12th March is the historic day when Gandhiji started his famous Dandi March in 1930. The 24-day march from March 12th to April the 5th, 1930 marked the inauguration of the civil disobedience movement. The Dandi March was the most significant organized movement against the British Raj after the non-cooperation movement of the 1920s.
There was great excitement in Ahmedabad on the eve of the march. A large crowd gathered around Sabarmati Ashram and stayed through the night. Gandhiji gathered a group of 78 men,
There were 31 marchers from Gujarat, 13 from Maharashtra, and others from the United Provinces, Kerala, Punjab and Sindh, with Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Karnataka, Bengal, Bihar and Orissa sending one each. The diversity was social as well as geographical. From among the chosen marchers, there were many students and khadi workers. Several were the so-called untouchables, a few Muslims and one Christian.
They started out at 6:30 a.m. amidst a large group of people, cheering them all along with flowers and greetings. On their way, they stopped at a number of villages where Gandhi addressed large crowds. Gandhi reached Dandi village on April the 5th. Next day, on the 6th of April, he proceeded to the sea, where he picked up lumps of natural salt lying in a small pit.
Man needs salt as he needs air and water. This salt comes from the Indian Ocean. Let every Indian claim it as his right.
While picking up the salt, Gandhiji said,
"With this, I'm shaking the foundations of the British Empire. My advice is that the workers should everywhere manufacture salt to make use of it and to instruct the villagers to do so."
The act was symbolic but was hugely covered by the press and was the beginning of several other acts of civil disobedience in other parts of India.
The Dandi March and its effect shook up the British government. We also remember the nationalist leader and the first Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Yashwantrao Chauhan, who was born on the 12th of March 1913 in Sangli district of Maharashtra. As a schoolboy in Karad, he was fined for his participation in the non-cooperation movement. In 1932, he was sentenced to 18 months in prison for hoisting the Indian flag in Satara. During this period, he came in contact with Swami Ramanand Bharti, Dholappa Bhaurao, Appa Sahib and Govind Kruparam.
During his college years, Chauhan was involved in many social activities and was closely associated with the Congress Party and its leaders such as Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel and Keshav Rao Jede. Chauhan was one of the delegates at the Bombay session of the Indian National Congress in 1942 that gave the call for Quit India. He spent around 2 years in jail for his participation in the Quit India movement.
Post-independence, Yashwantrao Chauhan was the first Chief Minister of the undivided state of Bombay. When the two new states of Gujarat and Maharashtra were created in 1960, Chauhan became the Chief Minister of the new state of Maharashtra. He took several steps to develop the state. He passed the Cooperative Societies Act and brought industries to backward areas, thus laying the stepping stones for a modern, industrialized state.
Yashwantrao Chauhan held many important portfolios in the central government. He served as the Minister of Defence, Minister of Home Affairs, Minister of Finance and External Affairs Minister.
The elimination of foreign military bases from and preservation of peace in the Indian Ocean. This is not so for any reasons of expediency, but of principle and deep conviction. India's policy on the Indian Ocean is a logical and natural outcome of its policy of peaceful coexistence and non-alignment.
He also served as the 5th Deputy Prime Minister of India from July 1979 till January 1980.
Yashwantrao Chauhan died of a heart attack on the 25th of November 1984 in Delhi. AIR pays tribute to the great leader.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
Bombay Stock Exchange's SME platform has completed 10 years. A special function was held today in Mumbai to celebrate the occasion. While addressing the function, Ashish Kumar Chavan, MD and CEO of Bombay Stock Exchange, said nearly 350 companies representing around 50 sectors listed on the platform raised about 3,500 crore rupees and BSE will soon achieve 10 crore investor accounts. He added that 25% of companies have migrated to the main board from the BSC SME platform. He further said that technology is the only change and it is technology that creates wealth.
The Reserve Bank has barred Paytm Payments Bank from opening new accounts with immediate effect. RBI has also directed Paytm Payments Bank to appoint an IT audit firm to conduct a comprehensive audit of its IT system. In a statement, RBI said onboarding of new customers will be subject to specific permission to be granted by it. After reviewing the report of the IT auditors, the RBI said this action is based on certain material supervisory concerns observed in the bank. Paytm Payments Bank was incorporated in August 2016 and formally began its operations in May 2017. Morarji Desai National Institute of Yoga under the Ministry of Ayush is organising Yog Mahotsav 2022 tomorrow. Ayush Minister Sarbananda Sonowal will inaugurate the event to commemorate 100 Days Countdown to International Day of Yoga. The inaugural session will also be graced by Union Minister Bhupendra Yadav, Haryana Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar, Sikkim Chief Minister of Prem Singh Tamang, among others. The basic objective of this event is to give a wider promotion and publicity to various dimensions of yoga and its utility, and also to promote the 100 Days Countdown campaign to International Day of Yoga.
The High Commission of India celebrated the 12th Foundation Day of Indira Gandhi Cultural Centre IGCC in Dhaka yesterday. High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh, Vikram Doraiswamy, inaugurated the event with the lighting of the ceremonial lamp. In his speech, he highlighted the importance of the cultural centre to foster and strengthen cultural exchanges between India and Bangladesh to promote people-to-people connect. During the event, IGCC students and teachers gave cultural performances and paid tribute to three great icons of Indian music, Lata Mangeshkar, Geeta Shri Sandhya Mukhopadhyay and Bappi Lahiri, who passed away last month. In German Open Badminton, India's Lakshya Sen will play his semi-final match against Victor Axelsen of Denmark this evening in Berlin. In the quarter-final last evening, Lakshya beat compatriot H.S. Pranoy 21-15, 21-16. Victor entered the semi-final beating Kidambi Srikanth in a thrilling encounter. In the ICC Women's World Cup, India defeated West Indies by 155 runs at Seddon Park in Hamilton today. Chasing a victory target of 318 runs, West Indies were all out at 162 runs in 40.3 overs. Smriti Mandhana, India's opening batter, scored 123 runs, while Harmanpreet Kaur scored 109. Deandra Doughton and Hayley Matthews added 81 in the first power play to help West Indies start off well against the Indians, but things changed quickly after Meghna Singh and Sneha Rana picked up 2 wickets each, leaving the West Indies reeling at 114 for 4. West Indies kept losing wickets at regular intervals to eventually get bowled out for 162. India were 15 for 1 against Sri Lanka in the second test match in Chinnaswamy Stadium at Bengaluru a short while ago. Mayank Agarwal was out for 4, Rohit Sharma on 7 and Hanuma Vihari on 2 were at the crease. Earlier the hosts won the toss and elected to bat. The day-night test is being played with a pink ball and the full-capacity crowd. The hosts defeated visitors in the first test match in Mohali to lead the 2-match series 1-0. Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. National capital Delhi will have strong surface winds during daytime. Temperature will move between 16 to 31 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have a mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Chennai is likely to have a mainly clear sky. Kolkata will have a partly cloudy sky. And now before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi dedicates to the nation the building of Rashtriya Raksha University near Gandhinagar in Gujarat, says seeds of police reforms sown with the launch of the university. Prime Minister expresses hope that the university will strengthen the security scenario of the nation. Home Minister Amit Shah says Gujarat produced a model in the country by adopting major systematic changes. Aam Aadmi Party leader Bhagwant Mann meets Punjab Governor Banwari Lal Purohit to stake claim to form government in Punjab. 4 terrorists killed in 3 separate overnight operations by security forces in Jammu and Kashmir. Nationwide COVID vaccination approaching 180 crore mark. Nepal Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deoba thanks India after 4 Nepali nationals evacuated from Ukraine through Operation Ganga.
Food and Agriculture Organization says war in Ukraine will hurt poor nations dependent on grain imports. In Women's Cricket World Cup, India beat West Indies by 155 runs at Seddon Park, Hamilton. And in men's cricket, India win the toss and elect to bat against Sri Lanka in the day and night test at Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bengaluru. And with that, we end the midday news.